When Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Cause it's winter. You guys watch Phineas and Ferb? Cause it's winter. Alright, here we go. Traveling forward. Hi, and thanks for tuning in. This is the Learn with John Eick podcast. And today is 7 on my 180-day drive to school. It's Tuesday. I think it's day 73. I think it's day 73. But I feel like we do this all the time. Let's just skip it. We'll move on. We'll know what day it is when it goes. But I am on my way to work, school, the place that I love. We are in that, section where we're talking about how do you make organizational culture a place where you want to work. And I saw this thing, I think it was Adam Grant, maybe it was a tweet. I get on my best knowledge. I'm not reading research papers anymore. I'm just reading tweets from people who write research papers, which I think is it's like an executive summary. Anyway, I think I saw this thing about the impact of gratitude on the human brain. And it wasn't the impact that you think. It was not the impact of somebody being grateful for you that made you be like, oh, they really care. It wasn't just that. It was the impact of sharing gratitude or expressing gratitude. Maybe it was even just acknowledging gratitude. Like it has this great impact on the human psyche, right? And physically, it lowers stress levels and heart rates and all the things, right? Which made me think being grateful, sharing gratitude makes me feel better. If I feel better, I'm more likely to be able to do all the important things that I need to do to make an organizational culture awesome. And that would be for example, assuming positive intentions. So this all kind of got me thinking. It all got me thinking about how we treat one another. And I think I riff a lot about hey, how to make an organizational or systemic, structures that help lead our organizations to have these cultures that we want to stay in, that we want to exist in, that we want to be a part of. And I gotta be honest, I'm just gonna be selfish. And I'm gonna talk about how we treat one another from a different perspective. Often I'm talking about, labor and management and being as a leader or an administrator, you should make sure that you're making people feel heard and seen and doing all these things. But I think I'm going to take it from the other direction, and here's why. I've talked about fear, I've talked about isolation, I've talked about, creating connectedness. And if you're the person in the lead seat, you're the superintendent, you're the principal, you're the department chair, you're a person in this leadership role. I don't really know how you got there. I guess I don't care because we all take our different pathway to get wherever it is we're going. But look, we need someone in that seat. Agreed? I know we'd all love to believe we don't need a boss. We can be an autonomous collective. No, you can't. You can't. We all need people to play the roles that they play in the current structure of, education in America or whatever it is wherever it is you work. If we didn't need those roles, we wouldn't spend the money to fill those roles. So we clearly need the roles, and so someone's got to take the job. And I don't ever believe the statement that that's why they get paid the big bucks. Meaning justifying we can treat that person like crap. We can expect that person to work really long hours and work the athletics events at nights and go to the board meetings and take the hard phone calls and be in the hard parent meeting and do the things they have to do until very late because we're that's why they get paid the big bucks. Actually, they don't, right? They get paid the big bucks because they are human and have collected their expertise and their experience, and they're qualified to, take on the responsibilities of leadership at some form of level that is hey, they're responsible for more than just a classroom. They're responsible for multiple classrooms or multiple school sites. And so I guess my charge today is this: how you treat the people above you talks a lot about the culture of the organization. And I don't think people want to work in an organization where every time a door closes on a staff room, we trash the boss. I don't think that makes people feel good. I think it makes people who are saying the things that they're saying somehow feel like they're doing something to gain the thumbs up and the likes of the people around them. I think it's attention-seeking behavior that is like, oh, people like it when I do this. But the reality is, it's really not healthy. That doesn't make people want to, like, oh, you know what I love about my job? I love when we go into lunch and Mrs. Smith shuts the door and she just inappropriately tears into this person who's not very good at their job yet because they're kind of new at it. I love that part. Because if you're willing to talk trash about the boss, you're probably willing to talk trash about me when I'm not around, if I'm your colleague. So I don't think that people really want to work on that space. Now, look, I'm not just trashing people who trash people. Look, if you work in an organization where you feel that the boss does not assume positive intentions in your direction, then I get it. It's pretty hard to assume positive intentions in their direction. So I guess what I would say is, I think it matters the way we treat one another. And so how do we create systems where we treat one another kindly? And in this case, where we say, hey, and I often talk about, how well we should treat all the people within the organization. But in this case today, I'm talking about how we treat those people in leadership roles. If you didn't like your previous leader and they left and you got a new one and you don't like the new one, well, the problem might be you. Look, honestly, don't judge. Listen, if you didn't like the previous leader and you were trashing them all the time, even behind closed doors, you think they don't know? They know. Look, it's hard, you guys. It is tough to be in a leadership position and to know that people are, it's sport these days to critique people, right? To critique people in these high profile, highly visible leadership roles. Because when I screw up, you could see it. It's like big, you know what I mean? And I screw up all the time. Like when I do it though, oh man, John really screwed that up. So look, it's hard to be in these roles where, it's highly visible. And I know, because I was a teacher, I do teacher observations. I know how uncomfortable it is to go through a teacher observation. As a teacher, you're like, oh my God, you're gonna come in my classroom, my affective filter's up. I'm afraid I'm not gonna do a good job. You're gonna catch me not doing well. But I walk in your classroom, once every other week. I swing through, and you're like, oh, John stopped by. Oh, I was right in a bit. But imagine if everything you did was pretty public. Your board meetings in public. You're always putting on presentations in front of staff. It's very public when you screw up. Or when your shortcomings are demonstrated. So look, give those people a little empathy, a little sympathy, and maybe, I'm not saying don't be critical, expect greatness, but also assume positive intentions. And so that, I think, is the systematic approach we could take. Is okay, if you want gratitude to flow in your organization, and you want appreciation to flow in your organization, if you want people to be the best version of themselves, and that includes the leader, you need to probably name it and say, hey everybody, it is so easy in 2022 for all of us to jump on the Facebooks and the whatnots on the social medias and just critique each other. But that's not the culture we're setting in this organization. In this organization, I want us to assume positive intentions. And I tell you what I'm going to do. Anytime someone comes to me and says, hey man, I think so-and-so is doing something that ain't great, I'm going to say to that person, gosh, I don't know if that's true or not. It sounds like that's what you observed. Do you want to talk to them about it, or do you want me to talk to them and see if I can find out what their intention was? Because if you say that, if you name that as an organizational strategy, hey, we are all going to do this. I'm the boss. If somebody comes to me and is talking trash about you, I'm going to say, well, I want to assume positive intentions, so somebody should find out what that person's intention was. Do you want to talk to them, or do you want me to talk to them? Because what that does is say we don't talk trash when people aren't around. And if you do talk trash when people aren't around, we're going to default to assuming positive intentions and getting more information. Now, if you're the trash talker, I'm going to tell you, do you want to go talk to them and find out what their intentions were? Or do you want me to do it? Because if I do it, I'm going to go to them and be like, hey, Bob said that you're that you were, so you know I would out you. And I've told people, look, I've actually used this quite often. Say, hey, I won't out you. If you want me to go do it, I'll go do it. But let's find out what that person's intention was, and find out, find out 95% of the time, their intentions were actually, positive. They were trying to do a good job from the perspective that they held. So I guess I would say, you can establish this rapport of focusing on assuming positive intentions by saying out loud, hey guys, we are going to assume positive intentions, and when anybody approaches me with something that they're concerned with, I'm going to be like, hey, do you want me to go look into that, or do you want to look into that? And what that does is that arms people in the staff room with the same language. So then Mr. Smith goes into the staff room, shuts the door at lunch, and goes, man, I think so-and-so is, John's doing a terrible job. And people go, oh, hey, do you want to talk to John about that? Or do you want us to go talk to John on your behalf? Now, look, I say all this to say, I think in the place where I work right now, that I'm driving up to right now, this is a pretty long-standing rule. We're small though. We're only like 1,500 kids fully built out in my organization. There's only 130 employees. It's not that hard for us to do this, but we've been doing it for years. This assuming positive intentions, hey, do you want to talk to him, or do you want me to talk to him? That's something we've been doing at my organization for years, and I gotta tell you, I don't think it started off super smooth back in 2013, but here it is 2022, and I'm in the place where people say it to me, and it's great. I got Kim Erickson's one of my favorite teachers, and she's always like, yeah, do you want me to talk to him, or do you want to talk to him? You're right. Sally Hubbard, he texted me some pictures yesterday of some rainbows on a rainy day, and she's one of those people that I can always go to, and she's like, hey man, all right, let's talk about whatever we got to talk about, but let's assume positive intention, and let's be real with each other. I am not in a position in my organization where I feel like I am under attack, but I know there are leaders out there that feel that, and I would say, okay, somebody's got to be the bigger person in your organization. If you guys feel like you're attacking one another, if it's us versus them in your organization, set the ground rules. Hey, we're going to assume positive intentions, and if we hear each other talking about someone, we're going to say, well, let's go to that someone and unpack those intentions and find out what their intentions were. Do you want me to do it, or do you want to do it? Which stops the gossip, stops the trashing people, and focuses back on what's important. All right, that's my riff today. It's funny. I do these riffs and I go, gosh, I'm super lucky. I'm super lucky because I work in a place where a lot of these things are really in a good cultural space, but I think it takes a ton of time. I got to tell you, I've been here almost a decade now. It's taken a long time to build it, and I wonder how quickly it could unravel, without giving it the appropriate attention. All right, I'm driving into the parking lot. I'm doing my thing. My name's John Eick. You can find me on the Twitters at John_Eick. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.